Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Graceful Truth Podcast. I am Juliet, the host. And for those who are new here, this podcast is all about Jesus, everything Jesus. We come on here to talk about life and how to navigate it in a godly manner, in a godly way. I'm learning, I'm growing, and you're doing that too. So why don't we do it together? I mean, what's the harm in that? Anyways, happy new month. We're in a new month, the month of May, and I wish you guys success, blessings upon blessings, and favors. So today's episode is going to be a fun one. We are having two guests come on and answer deep faith-related questions that I have prepared for them. So just sit back and enjoy.
Hi, my name is Sagesse and I'm a guest in the Graceful Truth Podcast.
Hi, my name is Sagesse Arc. I'm an architect and a lecturer and also a guest on the Graceful Truth Podcast. We are here today to recount our journey with Christ. So we'll be doing some questions and answer, and we just speak and then see what comes of it. So would you like to go first? You really talk about it.
Okay, how do you live out your faith in environments that don't support or understand it? This is taking me back to a time where I was in a conversation with someone about my faith, right? About why I worship God and all. And the person was saying something like, God is a narcissist. And I don't know, I would say that if I'm faced with that kind of scenario again, I would probably just walk away because I'm not so strong spiritually. So I would not want to put myself in a position where
You have to argue,
I'll have to, yes,
debate, God things with...
Or before they even pour out their opinions on me and I'll not start doubting and start overthinking. So yeah, I would walk away.
Okay, well, in this case, well, yes, I think walking away is a way, but I don't see it as
the way.
The way, yes, it's a way, but I don't see it as a way, because in most cases, like from the question, when you surround yourself with people that are unsupportive or people who leave you questioning your faith, I think the important thing is to question your own faith. Personally, I think I was probably after my secondary school, I was at the point where I couldn't say it out loud to anybody because, a child of a pastor and everything, asking whether there is God, agnostic. I was in between, okay, is there God? Is there really God? What are the evidences that support that there is God and everything? So, and that is the most basic form of faith that you're even going to have. Whether you're going to be a Muslim or a Christian, you first have to believe that there is God. And as you get into it, it's stronger. So, but I was at that point, and the thing is that what helped me was I was able to question my faith. And most times when people talk about faith, we don't talk about let me use the word empirical evidence that supports faith. What do I mean by that? Most times when you're at the point where you're questioning your faith, God doesn't just leave you randomly to figure out things yourself. He guides you to people who help you figure things like that out. So, like I said, not to deviate too much from the question, when you're in an environment where it feels like you don't have support system for your faith, I think the best thing is to question yourself and ask yourself whether you're in the right place in the first place. So, because running away doesn't fix it all the time. How many people do you want to run away from? So, I think, like I said, the best thing is to question your own faith and see whether you are in the right place with God and even with men. Okay,
I get what you just said, but I thought that the question is directing towards how do you live out your faith in environments that don't support or understand. Like, for example, if you are faced, let's say now in your place of work,
yes,
you could just come up with a conversation and then there's somebody that is contradicting your faith.
Okay,
I thought that was
okay. If it's about that, yes, I think I was just responding to what's your own response, not necessarily to the question. Okay. But if it's solely about that, being maybe someone always constantly belittling your faith,
Yes, exactly.
Yes, I think the most reasonable thing is to leave at that point. But like I said, if it's about you yourself constantly finding yourself in places where your faith is being questioned, I think the best thing is to question your own faith and see where it leads you. What is one area of your life you are still struggling to fully trust God with? Okay, This is a tough one because one of the promises rather that I made with God is that I'm going to make it very easy for every aspect of my life to be easily surrendered to Him. And I've always said that since maybe I was in secondary school, even when I wasn't so let me say I was still a baby. I mean, I'm still a baby, you know. But I've always said that because I feel like when you say that all the time, it kind of gives you the leverage to easily surrender to God. But regardless, there are still areas where we struggle. Well, I would say my own point is should I use the word my destiny? When I say it's destiny like that, when I always want to fulfill God's promise, or I always want to go into God's will. But sometimes I realize that because I'm passionate about something, I lead the way instead of allowing God to lead. For example, I remember when I was in Ogbomoso, that's my hometown, and I was so sure God convicted me that I knew I was going to be a teacher. In my mind, I was okay, a teacher of the gospel, you know, so I joined the Sunday school departments, you know, Bible study and everything. So I was teaching, in fact, and it was the most fulfilling thing for me. In fact, I could do that and not doing that thing till I die. That was what I thought at that point in time. And there was a time I was praying. I don't know if I've shared it to anybody out here, but at the time I was praying, and then I just heard that voice. What did I ask you to do? And I was.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yes, It was like, you asked me to be a teacher, and I'm doing it. You know, I was so boastful in my response, and that spirit just told me, "Did you come back to ask me how?" And I couldn't even pray again. It basically just shortened that prayer for that day, and in my head I was like, "What does God mean? I'm doing what you want me to do. What do you mean by how? Did you already tell me? I thought you were going to lead me." I was like, but one thing I noticed that God expects you to come to Him every step of the way. Not after you're at a junction where you're at a crossroad. He expects you to come to Him at every step you take. Don't take a single step without God. In fact, someone says like this, that when God leads, step right onto His feet, onto His footprint, so that basically you're in pure alignment with God. So I think it's an area where personally, and I think a lot of people actually struggle to not to discern God's will, but to allow God to lead their destiny. So I think that's a major.
Okay.
Concern.
Okay. I should ask.
Yeah, you can respond, or you can go for another question.
What's one area of my life I'm struggling? I'd say, directing this question to me, I don't think there's any area of my life I'm struggling to trust God with. But there are areas of my life that I am struggling, like, to fix, to be in alignment with God. Do you get?
Okay.
Like maybe character-wise and everything. But then to trust God fully, I don't think I'm struggling with any area of my life.
Yeah, but that begs the question: if you're trying to fix yourself so that you can align yourself with God, that means you are struggling to trust God, because God is not asking you to come fixed; He's asking you to come broken, and He's going to fix you. So you can't align yourself with God. So you can't align yourself with God outside of God.
Okay.
So it's still some kind of struggle. If you look at it that way.
So then that's my answer. I'm struggling. I'm struggling with that. Okay, so
Right.
moving on. What does surrendering to God really look like in your everyday life? I don't know how to answer this question, because do we mean like what is your relationship to God like, or
I think the question is more specific as to how do you constantly allow God to express Himself in you every single day? Not necessarily like the way I said about destiny and other things, but every single day, how do you surrender yourself to God? What are the steps you take, intentional steps you take every day to align yourself, surrender yourself to God?
okay, by giving,
If I'm not wrong,
by giving Him my time, right? Like I have a certain time where and also whilst trying to involve God in every part of my life or every part of my day, maybe when I'm cooking or when I'm having my bath, I used to try to, like, especially because I'm living alone. I mean, there's nobody else talking.
Exactly. It's easy for you to pray anywhere, sing anywhere.
Kind of thing.
Yes.
And then sometimes I find myself doing what I did not plan to, and sometimes too I do listen to sermons when I'm cooking or when I'm eating. Yeah.
Okay, those are pretty good. This and what you just told me now kind of reminded me of something that happened to my mom a long time ago. Now, before I come back to the question, I remember there was time she was telling us that when she got married and then she gave it to us, when she like got really busy, take care of everybody, she noticed that anytime she prays, it feels like God wasn't listening. But then anytime she's in the bathroom, maybe to bathe, maybe during that 15-20 minutes of her being in the bathroom, whatever prayer she makes or whatever that's in songs or whatever, she hears God more in those places. And she was asking why. And then someone answered, I think it was a friend of my dad that answered, an evangelist. He said, it's not that God wasn't talking to you when you were praying. It was because at that point in time, your mind was wandering. You were praying and then you were thinking about other things, how to take care of this. But at the point, just that moment, that 15 to 20 minutes when your mind was at rest, that's when you were in the bathroom, you just wanted to take a cold shower and then let everything go. That's when the channel that God has opened into your spirit now opens up to allow those things come in. So yes, why most of like you rightly said, most people would think of every 20 minutes or every 2 hours, or I should pray and everything. Those are the ways. Sometimes it happens. Our surrender actually happens in all those tiny activities, all those tiny events, all those simple events we do every day. For me, before going to class, asking God, please put all your entrance, and everything. And then I notice that every time, that's me as a lecturer and as a teacher. I notice that if I go to any class and I pray that same prayer, I get to the class and I get divinely inspired. Sometimes people ask questions that I'm very sure I didn't know answers to, but the moment I open my mouth, I just trust God that when I open my mouth, something comes out and it makes sense. Even to me, even though I didn't have an initial understanding of what I was saying. So in those small areas, those are areas where you need to surrender your life to, surrender yourself. Let me put it that way, your whole self to God, and God really helps when you allow him to do all those. All right. How do you maintain your relationship with God during dry or silent seasons? Why am I picking difficult questions? One thing I know is that God is truly never silent. Yes, there are sometimes where he appears to be silent, and where it feels like you're going through the most. You're going through it. Let me say that way. Like when Jesus on the cross and God had to turn away and other things. Where God really never really turns away from us. But when I'm in my, let me use that word, silent time, I see it as a moment to develop. And I'm not saying this generically. When I'm trusting God for something, and let me say those things haven't come, or when I'm trying to get at myself in alignment with God, and it feels like as if I'm struggling, I look at the future and I see myself in that position that I'm believing God for. So it kind of boosts my faith. The definition of faith according to Hebrews, when it talks about the evidence of things not seen, right? So I see the evidence of those things I'm waiting for. Like I said, it might be in a request, it might be in how I want my life to be positioned at a certain time with God. So yes, how do I handle it? I basically just trust God. I keep my hope up, and I listen to songs that keep my hope up. And I try to meet people who I know that have been in those kind of situations before and ask them, how do you go about it? Their words of encouragement always helps. And of course, I have a support system. My family is my first support system. They know me. Anytime I have issues, anytime I'm struggling with anything, we have a group chat. I don't care whether my siblings will see it, I'll post it on the group, and then immediately people just start answering. We'll be praying for you. We're doing that. I just told you of one that happened to for yesterday, where someone wanted to set me back in my career, and immediately I put on the group, and my dad, after 5 minutes, my dad said, "We are praying. God has settled it." Those are the kind of messages you want when you're in your dry time. God put those people there so that they can encourage you, so they can lift you up. So and it really helps a lot.
Personally, right? I don't think I have really. Life has not shown me shaggy because in the most life has shown me shaggy is academics, and I know that life is more than that. So I would say that I've not really had a time where I was in trying times, in quotes. But there was a time where my parents were sick and like they had to go through surgeries and all. As much as they hid it from us, we still knew about it.
Yeah.
But then, my reaction to that was not, oh, I'm finished. I still knew that. It's not good. Like, now smalls now.
We'll fix it.
Nothing will happen. It's not time yet. They have not yet reaped the fruit of their labor, so they're not going anywhere. So it's just, these two shall pass. So, and also, like you mentioned, you have people around you to support you. Even people that, what I've noticed is that even people that are not so let me put it as in line with God, like even our friends that are still battling with their walk with God, they are still there for you. I mean,
Yes.
God still placed them there
Yes.
to help you in one way or the other. So even though they don't help spiritually, they can help you otherwise. Even by
Emotionally.
merely their presence,
Yes.
the love and affection that they have to give you matters. So, I mean, God has made my life beautiful, in essence. Thank to
Thank
love
you for
like
that.
Jesus. What does it mean to you to love like Jesus, especially
Okay.
when it's hard?
Mm.
What does it mean to me to love like Jesus? Okay, the first thing that came to my head when I saw this is like, maybe when somebody has offended you and you still have to love the person regardless.
Yes, especially when it's hard.
I mean, it's more difficult to love somebody that's offended you.
Yes.
So to love like Jesus, I mean, just not smalls. It's not smalls, but it's smalls. But I mean, God will just help me to get over it. As much as I'm not happy with them, or my relationship with them will not remain the same, does not mean that if I'm maybe in the same space with them, I'll change. Maybe I'll be less considerate, or I'll still be the same. I'll just not speak to them as much as I used to.
Imagine if Jesus did that. Okay.
I'm a human being now.
Yeah, that's it.
I can't-
I think like you said something, and I think it's part of what everybody is kind of struggling with. Anyway, someone offends, and this is a pretty strong question. I think even in the kingdom, as the Christian kingdom, I think it's what a lot of us struggle with, because it's basically, this question forms the basis of the laws given to us. Jesus gave to us. Okay, love God with all your might, with all your strength, with all your heart and everything. And then the second one is just like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And most times when we read that verse of the Bible, when we read First John, where it talks about God is love, and then what's it called, every other thing that has to do with love, I think we just gloss over it and don't realize the extent of what we are saying, probably because of our human nature. Love can be a very difficult thing to fulfill, a very difficult obligation to fulfill. I remember I was just talking about someone, some minutes ago, about how I'm not going to talk to someone again because of what they did that was hurtful and everything. I know in myself that I probably won't be able to do that, but to an extent, it would have severed some things in a way in how I discuss or communicate with them. It's let me just say it this way: love is more than forgiveness. It's reconnecting. It's re-strengthening the relationship that was there, even though it got broken. Maybe probably not even as a result of your own doing. It could be the other person. You know, when someone hurts you emotionally, physically, and all these things, it's very difficult to restore that love that was there before. You know, to connect with them physically and emotionally to the point where we were originally are with them. So love can be a difficult thing to fulfill, but that's why God showed us an example. We were cast away. We were a castaway. We're not supposed to be anything to God when man fell, right? But God showed us an example, the ultimate form of love, where He sent His Son. And this case, when we say God sent His Son, some people look at it as God basically sent Himself to be ridiculed by mortal men, by people He created, to be sacrificed. And then He now gave us absolute form of forgiveness, where all you have to do is just say, God, please, I've done this, come into my life and forgive me, and then you're forgiven. Imagine someone kills your only child, and they just come to meet you, and they say, please forgive me, I know I've done you wrong, can you forgive me? That person is probably going to leave my house alive. But He showed us the ultimate form of love, where no matter what this person has done, no matter how hard it is, you must forgive. Love isn't just a feeling, it is an obligation. I think when we begin to see it that way, it becomes a little bit easier for us. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be easy fully, but it becomes easy when you see it as something you must do instead of something you feel like doing. I think, but everybody's struggling with it anyway. You see pastors, ministers of God struggling with it, but it's something we're all striving to make ourselves perfect.
So what's the first step to bring it into actualization?
I think the first step is just to talk to God, because that's the part that a lot of people skip. When someone offends me, and I realize that I find it actually very difficult to forgive the person until I ask God to help me forgive the person. It is something, the moment you can bring it to God, God sees it as a genuine heart, willing to forgive, although struggling, but willing to forgive. And forgiveness is the first step to loving again. If we can't forgive, whatever love, whatever kind of connection you try to establish will be based on, hurts and all those things. What boundaries have you had to set to protect your spiritual growth? Oh, this is a good one. I think I like this one very well. Boundaries. About your spiritual growth, you have to be very intentional. Else, you just keep finding yourself with people you don't you know that are not helping you
They're not good for
spiritually.
you,
They're not good
but
for you.
just-
I remember during my undergraduates, I wouldn't say people were not helpful. They were not bringing me down spiritually, but they were not helping me grow spiritually too. And one thing about spiritual growth is that if you're not going up, you're automatically going down. It is something I've noticed. If you're not going up, you're not going in a direction, you're automatically in the other direction. So basically, because they were not helping me better my prayer life, my reading, my Bible studying life, and all those meditation life and everything, automatically I was neglecting those things. And then it was coming down. So basically, I think it has helped me over the years to recognize when someone isn't helping me grow spiritually, and then I don't necessarily keep them off my list, but I keep them in certain aspect of my life where I know that okay, they can be helpful as humans, but not necessarily in my entire part of life. There are friends I have now that if I have career challenges, not even just friends, mentors, that if I have career challenges, I can easily go and meet them. But when I have spiritual challenges, I can never meet them. There are people who, if I have, let me say, maybe if someone offends me and then I can easily just go and meet them, okay, this person has offended me and this is what they keep doing. Talk to them because I don't want to get angry with them all the time because they are mature, all those things. But when it comes to personal spiritual stuff, I probably will not even discuss things like that with them. So I don't throw everybody away, but I keep people in a position where I feel they help me grow. So spiritually, I have people who I speak with spiritually and they help me. So I think it's just to create. Okay, the question is what boundaries have I created? So I recognize their area of importance and I keep them there. I think that's what's basically what I do, career wise, this wise. I just keep them in that, and those are meant to come to my spiritual life. I let them in. So
Okay, so what I do, what boundaries I set, I feel like this question is more personal.
yeah, it is.
So, what boundaries have I set? I would say the things that are a norm in our world today for my generation, I try to not involve myself in them. And anybody that is around me that is promoting or instigating or making me want to do it, I try to not entertain them. Yeah, that's right.
And I think this question is more than just people anyway. It could be events, activities in your life because you didn't specifically talk about people. Say what boundaries. I think
Set.
yes. I think for me another thing that I use is social media. That's one of the reasons why I've kept myself away from some certain platforms is because they are notorious for. Yes, don't get me wrong. We have gospel stuff going on there, but I think I have observed them to be notorious for setting me back spiritually, personally, not generally everybody, but personally. So I keep myself off there, or if I need to mute anybody on any platform, I know that Twitter is notorious for creating doubt, and all those things. So automatically, when I even see a post in any aspect related to questioning your faith, I automatically just skip it or even just block the person. There are even men of God that I have muted on Twitter because their belief doesn't actually align with my life or how I believe Christ to be. So yes, I think those are the other ways that
Really?
I've been able to do that. So
Okay. When did your faith become personal rather than just cultural or routine?
that's a good question.
It's like, when did you give your life to Christ?
Could be. I mean, it could be. Also, it could be when did you actually dedicate your life to Christ too? Yeah.
Okay, so being conventionally born into a Christian family.
Yes, that's how it's.
And all, I would say when my faith became more personal was in 2020, when during COVID. Oh my God, COVID was
Left you thinking about your life.
mentally
That's good.
stressful because we were like a lot in my house. My uncles, my aunties,
Oh, wow.
their children, everybody came to our house and it was packed. And my dad was not there; he was in another state.
Okay.
So we used to try to have Bible studies and all, but then sometimes the Bible studies become chaotic because Bible study is like a time for you to like stay your mind. So like if this person has been doing something, you
find the Bible verse that matches.
Like, so we just at the point my dad was like that. Oh, my mom, me, my brother, and I should come to the state where he was. So we went there, and then when we went there was this man that kept coming to his house, and he wasn't preaching; he was teaching. And I mean, from my mom's countenance, I could tell that this person was actually changing her sort of. She was, I don't know, consciously changing. My mom usually used to like complain about everything. She was not just that guy that, but like we could see the changes and all. So I don't know. I feel like that period, and then there was a time where we went to the church, and then I feel like that time I had a personal understanding and encounter with God, and I got to shifts. And also, God put me in a place where I was with people. I live with people that helped me grow spiritually.
Okay, I think I just say something about this. For me, it was more like, like you said, when you're born into a Christian home and then your dad is a pastor and all those things, right? So by default, you are morally upright. Let me put it that way. You are morally upright. Well, if you don't forget what the Bible talks, how the Bible talks about that, that those that have, they I've forgotten the exact way he put it, but those that have the belief, but they lose the power thereof, that they know that they're trying to be religious or they are religious, but the power that makes you righteous, that makes you holy, is actually not in them. So they are morally upright, right? But they don't know, they don't have the power that keeps them upright. So it was that. I think that's the way I've always lived my life, trying to meet up with the standard people have set for Christianity and even pastors' children, because my parents often tell us of how a lot of pastors' children have disappointed their parents and then disappointed the congregation. So I was living my life uprightly to show people that I could be different. I think I saw my struggles anyway. But the real truth was when I was 2015 after my BSc. Someone will be wondering why it took me so long. I've always had personal relation with God, but it was based on, it was off and on. But it was after BSc. I think I was home alone, before resuming for masters. And when you are alone, a lot of things strike you rather. And I was just there. I was like, what's the next thing in my life? Like, do I just go along with how everybody's going? Or I had to start praying and then reading and then doing all sorts. And then it was the first time that I actually wanted to know God. Not just to pray to Him so that He could do this or that for me. It was the first time I actually wanted to know God for who He is, for what He has for me, for what I can do to better the kingdom. At least that was where I understood at that time. So, and one thing about God sees our hearts. He knows when we are genuine, and He always leads us to the right place. And from there, everything was glory to God. Beautiful. I think I'm picking. Yeah, I'm picking.
Sorry.
Oh, how do you navigate feelings of jealousy, comparison, or pride while still honoring God? I think this question is in two parts. The first one is, how do you navigate the feeling of jealousy and comparison, and that's or pride. Let me say jealousy. Think about jealousy, comparison, pride. So yes, I remember. I won't use the word jealous, because I've always seen jealousy as some kind of fruit or spirit that doesn't just come into you. It's a fruit that germinates. It's a seed that germinates into your life. So it starts from what we call envy, and envy looks so harmless, when you're doing it. But when I realized that is that, I think there was this guy in my class. I was always envious of. His parents are super well to do. Was comfortable. The guy was a smart guy. He had a better grade than I had then. And it felt like his life was super smooth. I could have traded my life for his life. Honestly, I could have, because I just liked the way his life was. It felt everything was just alright. He was also a child of a pastor anyway. So one day, I think after our masters, he had not traveled out then. He just messaged me, and then we were discussing, and then he said something. He said, while we were in school, he was always envious of me. I was like, are you sure something's wrong with you? I didn't tell him that I was always envying him, but like you literally had a better life than I did. Like, I know I was struggling, even financially I was struggling. You had the better life. It was like the way people always come around me to ask for questions. The way I always guide people. The way people call me when they have problems, and then the solution comes at hand without ceasing. I was like, what? That was just me. It was like he envied that. He wanted to be that. I wanted to be him, and that was the moment I realized that wow. Just be you. Just be who God has ordained you to be. And then you realize that you don't need jealousy. You don't need to compare yourself with anyone. I think that was a moment in my life that I realized that no matter how well to do someone looks, or no matter how better they are than me, let me put it that way. I don't compare my life with them. Yes, I see the advantages. Don't get me wrong. It's almost impossible for you not to see that. But I don't wish to be them. If I see anything that someone has and I feel like I need it in my life, I actually just go to God and ask. I don't just look at it and say, oh, I don't try to believe to it and everything. So I think, yes, for jealousy and comparison, I think that was kind of, it doesn't mean that sometimes I don't get envious, but I quickly recognize that emotion and that's fruit. And then for pride, why still honoring God? I think that pride is, there are times when, when you achieve something at this, maybe in your family and everything, and then I think pride comes not just when you have something. It comes when someone wants to show you, and then you know that you're in a better position than them. I think that's when pride actually strikes. You know you have a better advantage, so you know you can show them. But then, well, I think this part is a part that, let me say, I'm still struggling with. Not because I feel prideful, but because I know that sometimes when someone wants to show me quotes, and I'm in a better position, I want to use their eyes to, see shege. But to be sincere, I think God has been helping me in that aspect, because in my family, I think one model we always follow is that no matter what, you cannot be prideful. No matter what you have, when you see it as God giving you so that you can honor Him back, I think it works. It's something I constantly remember. So I think my parents were able to give us that from the beginning, where they will bring people who were less privileged into our homes, and then they will take them in as children, as our own, as siblings, and then it's never really recognized people as being, lesser than us. So I think it helped me, but I think that's the way I handle it anyway. Yes, it's to be conscious of the feeling or the emotion, and take it to God.
I always have it at the back of my mind that the rich also cry.
Mm-hmm.
Like they always tell us. So, I mean, when I think about where I am, or how far God has brought me, where I was born into, how I'm living, I still recognize that, I'm still doing better than some people. And people that are doing better than me, I always remember that, I mean, that's not God's plan for me. So myself. Maybe God wants me to go through another path, or God is denying me of something because I don't need it at that moment. I remember when I wanted a neck piece so bad, and then my brother wanted to gift it to me. But then when it was time for him to give me, I asked him, how is it? And he's like, oh, I don't get money. Then a month later, my friend gifted it to me.
Yeah.
And then when I had it, okay,
you didn't feel special
what
again.
what am I actually doing with it? So I mean, there are certain things that we don't have, and we feel like if we have it, I don't know, there's nothing there. And if there actually is nothing there, that's probably why God does not want you to have it at that point. So I mean,
that's a good point. When you recognize the will of God for you to
Yes.
have that thing, you recognize that, well, whether I have it or not. I don't
then
know.
for pride, I mean, my father always says pride goes before it falls. So we know better to try to not use what you have to oppress others, or to not use your position or your affluence or whatever you've gathered, because I mean, nothing comes from your efforts. It's God that gives it to you, or God allowed you to experience that at that moment. And there's a tendency that if you misuse it, you might lose it. So why be prideful about it?
That's a good point.
Thank you.
Wow, that was a wonderful episode. I don't know why. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? What's so funny? How did you feel? How was the episode for you?
I feel good. I feel happy that I had to share this.
So we've come to the end of today's episode. I hope you guys learned a lot from today's episode. And for you who have stayed till this end, till now, God bless you. And I pray that this new month will bring blessings upon blessings for us all. In the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to your friends, your family. I mean, you don't know who might want to listen or who needs to listen to this. So yeah, see you guys upper week. Bye.